On April 25th, a week after I had met with my dad, my neck had finally stopped hurting, but I was still feeling otherwise pretty sick. In fact, I woke up pretty late. This is the first thing I saw. I continued my regimen of gentle walks, and I continued to look for signs of life. I documented what I could, but the wind made the audio quality for a lot of the parts that I was narrating kind of unfavorable. I apologize for the quality of the sound, and I hope that you'll still enjoy the rest of the video to see some of the amazing things that I saw. This is something curious I've noticed. I've noticed a lot of the active ant mounds have ocotillo flowers all around them. You can see, here's just as an example. Another thing I want to do is be cognizant of the weather. You can see some tremendous storm cloud energy building behind me. Oh, let's see. Is this? I think it's just a bird dropping. I thought it was a chipping from a stone, but it's a bird dropping. Check it out. Today hasn't been a super great day for me. I woke up feeling pretty tired. Here's another bird dropping, I think. Or an animal dropping anyway. Woke up feeling pretty worn out. For the past several weeks I've been waking up nauseous. Today I didn't wake up nauseous, but I did have some stomach problems where I expelled a bunch of water that I wasn't expecting to. And there's more of those ocotillo surrounded insect mounds. Check this out. So we're nearing the end of another day. And on a completely different side of the park, I found a lot of the creosote flowers, the ocotillo flowers, are arranged outside of this hole. So once again, it looks like insects are using these areas. Here's just an example. Interesting. I wonder what that's all about. It was pretty hot today. I slept in the tent with the temperatures around 80 to 90 degrees. And every time I woke up, I thought it was still nighttime because I put this handkerchief over my face, over my eyes specifically, to kind of black out what it looked like. When I took a good cat nap, I still have 48 hours remaining of the 70 some odd hours of recovery time, and my watch says that I needed. And I don't really doubt it. I really do feel, as I mentioned, kind of worn out. Out here on a journey, doing what I can to heal. Some of you know that I'm going through some personal circumstances, and I really don't want to bore you with all those details again. To overcome that information, look. To overcome that circumstance, I should say, I've
just been continuing to put in the effort to not give up. Keep moving. Keep on keeping on. And that's resulted in, well, me putting myself in circumstances where it seems like I'm getting closer and closer to either a resolution or a massive storm. Things are coming to a head. That's basically what I get out of what I'm experiencing. Speaking of coming to a head, I don't necessarily want to be far away from my campsite if there's a major storm up there in the basin. So depending on how those clouds look, I might cut this walk very short and just head back so that I can experience whatever's about to be unleashed up there. Yeah, that's pretty extreme. Even if the storm doesn't hit the basin, I think I'm just going to go a little bit further, and I'm going to turn back, because even if I don't get to enjoy the rain shower in person, I'm sure that I'll be able to put whatever show that we're going to be given to good use. There's probably going to be a lightning show this evening. Right now there's a tremendous amount of wind blowing out from that storm that's directly in front of me, and I'm not finding a lot of different things on this route like I normally would like to enjoy showing you. Here's one thing I just found. You can tell it's a flake. You can even see its transparency. I'm gonna leave it right here where I found it. All in all, dawn and dusk, sunrise and sunset are interesting times to walk, because you can find things that shine. A lot of times what I'm finding that shines, though, this is what I was going to show you. Vegetation has an unusual way of catching the light and reflecting like it's some kind of metal or something. So here's another thing that sometimes glimmers from great distances. It appears to be a javelina. It's a pretty intense spider web there. That's a pretty intense storm too. It's hard to tell from this distance whether that storm is over the Chisos Mountains or on the other side of it, still flanking it. However, from my desert perspective, it did appear that there was some shade being thrown on Casa Grande. So it's possible I'm about to drive up into what will possibly become a storm. When I look at the weather map right now, well, it'll take a moment to update, but it is showing some red in the proximity, not necessarily where I'm at. However, the storm would be coming from Mexico at this point in time, and sometimes the weather forecast doesn't exactly show that information, not the one that's built into this Jeep anyway. So, and I don't want to log on to any kind of online connection, so I'm not going to look on the weather app on the Weather Channel app and spoil the surprise. I'm just going to drive in this direction and see what we see when we round the bend. And I'll show you what I can see at that point in time. It turns out the storms are just over the Mexico border, the US-Mexico border. So the storms haven't crossed over yet. I guess, the current leader is doing a great job at keeping the other side out of things. It's a shame though, because we really could use the rain, especially in this park that generally doesn't receive a whole lot of rain. In general, it seems like I've been present for many of the rainstorms, or I should take that back. Many of the times that I've been here, there have been rainstorms, rain showers, and I've been fortunate to experience that. I think that the rain might actually be crossing over the border a little bit, and we have just enough daylight. It's about 29 minutes till sunset, and I'm pretty sure I can make it to the other end of the park in approximately that amount of time from where I'm at. So just in the interest of seeing if there's something to show you that's different, I'm going to, this is different. So that reminds me, in yesterday's segment, I mentioned that there normally, if there were things that were dropped out of people's vehicles, they were normally something that was nice. Well, yesterday there was a nice towel of some sort, or blanket or throw, that was right in front of me, right before I hit the 200,000 mile mark. If you didn't watch that clip, I hope that you do. Right while I was still at 200,000 miles, a gray fox came out of the woodwork. In the past, just so you know, back maybe about 6 to 8 years ago, there used to be kit foxes. Every once in a while I'll see a red fox, or I would have seen a red fox out in this park. One of the other things that was very common would be skunks, ringtails. And I say very common, but what I mean is very common when you were driving at night. And a lot of times I end up doing that. I'll drive for hours after sunset and just to observe what's out here, because I get a kick out of seeing wildlife in all forms, whether it's the insect variety, the mammals, reptiles, all kinds of different things come out. But it had been a long time also since I'd seen deer. And if you watched that clip, as soon as I said, I haven't seen deer in a while, I haven't seen this, that, and the other. I haven't seen people, drop anything but trash. All of a sudden, I found that I crossed paths with a deer. Now today, you just saw there was a group of deer. Now that you should have seen. I wish there were a two-way facing camera on this device. I was smiling like I hadn't smiled in a long time. That made me extremely happy to see something like that. One of the other things, just in case it's working in this particular way, one of the other things that I haven't seen in a long time is a feline of some sort, whether it's a bobcat or a mountain lion, or who knows, jaguarundi, who knows what else I could see out here on these days when an extreme storm is forming right across the border and headed this way. There's no telling what kind of wildlife might sneak into this side of the park. Yesterday, I don't really remember if I showcased it. I might not have recorded it. But one of the things that I saw yesterday evening after sunset were a bunch of livestock in this park. So there were a bunch of livestock, a bunch of cows in this park from the Mexican side, and I'm saying that for a fact factually, because there are no cattle in this national park. There are no herds of cattle that our government is raising in here in this park. The cattle will cross over quite frequently, and in many cases, if I get really far out into the desert in certain directions, I will see evidence of those cattle, be it in trails that they've made, all of the droppings that they leave, and so forth. So there are a lot of cows from just on the other side of this border here. Now, when I say the other side of this border in Mexico, there's not a whole lot on the other side of this border in terms of big giant cities. There are little tiny towns like Boquillas, Mexico, is a little town that's right across the border. And that town does in fact have livestock, and those livestock will go back and forth based on where there's something to eat. So in our country, we have a lot of rules and regulations. In our state of Texas, we have a lot of rules and regulations. We have border protection services, and those border protection services don't always exactly apply to what's going on here in this exact neck of the woods. And I say that meaning that the people from the other side, in this case, a lot of times know the people from this side and vice versa. And so when we see cattle over here and horses in this park, a lot of us who are here frequently, or the locals, for an example, know that the cattle is from Boquillas, and it's from the people that we recognize as our neighbors. And we're so fluid at this place, in this area, that we have a legal crossing where we can cross legally with our passport and go to the town of Boquillas directly from this national park. I'm sure there are a bunch of other national parks that have services or situations like that. Glacier National Park is one example where you can go into Canada, for an example, if you have your passport. Here, you can travel to Boquillas and grab an amazing meal. It's only open, the crossing is only open certain days of the week. But the cows don't know that, the horses don't know that, and also several days, if not all days of the week, people are crossing back and forth to monitor and manage the lock boxes that I believe the National Park Service installed for the people of Mexico to collect money for the things that they're selling on the honor system right here at the border. If I can get there with some daylight, I'll show you those items. Either way, I'm going to check out for right now, and we'll see you when we see you. All right, so the energy from that storm has dissipated. The clouds are not as ominous. However, there is water on the road here. And so what I'm going to do is go to the, the Rio Grande Village area to look for wildlife that might be walking around in the Cottonwoods area of the park while we've still got a little bit of light. And then on the way out, well, actually maybe tomorrow I'll show you the area that has the Boquillas gifts so that you can see it in the light, because I do plan to come back out here tomorrow. I haven't taken a dip in the hot springs yet. I wanted to consider doing it this evening. Maybe I should have, with the rain that I got to see on this part of the park. But it's also probably better that I didn't go there. It might have turned into a full-on lightning storm. And I can see that a good amount of water has dropped here. There are puddles. So today and tomorrow will be good times to possibly see some wildlife here. And that's my primary draw at this park. So let's see if we can see something now that it's rained a good amount.
Here you can see the town of Boquillas just across the Rio Grande. Well, I was able to do both. I got here before it was too dark to see, and there was no wildlife at the Rio Grande Village area. You did see the cows. I had just mentioned the cows. Well, maybe usually at dusk, that's generally a time when I see bobcats or mountain lions, so let's see what happens. I didn't see any wildlife on the way back during this evening. However, the next morning I did see some wildlife on the way to the hot springs.
So it's 6:47 in the morning. I'm the only one here. Aside from this big flock of ducks that just went over, I don't know if you could have seen, if you got to see them. It's about 76 degrees outside already. It's supposed to be about 90. The ducks might be turning around. Well, they dove down too fast for me to be able to capture it. The point of what I was telling you earlier is that the temperatures are warm enough that any reptiles that came out at night will still be out. I think I just had a big owl fly over. It rained a good amount over here last night, so there could be all kinds of stuff. Insect eruptions, etc. and so forth. Check out these big trees, the big palm tree. There's some more palm trees a little bit further up ahead. Now I'm gonna proceed to the hot springs and get my healing on.
used to be you could dip your feet in the water right here. It's pretty dry right now. I'm not sure if any of that came out. When I looked at the screen after the fact, it was blurry, so I don't know if it was in focus. Right now there's a good number of nighthawks flying around. I'm gonna try to record that for you. Pretty cool. After my restorative morning at the hot springs, I didn't record any more footage until the following day as I was leaving the park. I met with the devil, he gave me his hand. He told me he'd love me as long as he can. At first I avoided each time that he'd ask the simplest question,
with each shiny task. Have you decided where you want to go? He got quite impatient, said you've got to choose. It's only your spirit that you're gonna lose. My time ran out quickly, I couldn't believe that what I had said I didn't deceive. Have you decided where you want to go? I said to the devil, I'm staying right here. It's probably better if you disappear. The devil got angry and struck at my head. If I hadn't moved, I'd surely be dead. Have you decided where you want to go? I said, don't you touch me, protected by God. And that young sweet devil just gave me a nod. The devil moved on, she went on her way, and still I am wary to this very day. Have you decided where you want to go? The devil is tricky, he's dealing in harm. To show up his beauty is part of her charm. Have you decided where you want to go? Have you decided? Do you even know? That song is called Have You Decided? It talks about a time when I met with an entity that was exceptionally deceitful. And yeah, I definitely don't want to ride along with any kind of an entity like that. If you've been watching this channel for some time, you'll know that I sometimes interweave stories that have a lot to do with healing, or the aspect of healing, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm doing my best to heal, and to do that, I've parted ways with quite a few entities that are not really subscribing to the same healing process. If you're subscribing to the healing process, I hope you're subscribing to this channel, clicking the thumbs up. You can click the thumbs down if you want. That helps the algorithm as well. This is a song that I wanted to share in my part 2 compilation of my recent trip to Big Bend National Park, where I had to go. I felt like I had to go because I was suffering from some kind of an illness where I was waking up quite sick. I was waking up with nausea, and I had constant headaches, and I was basically not in too great of a condition. And so here I am in a place where normally it's pretty quiet. However, with all the visitation from people who don't know what it's like to enjoy quiet, some people come here and they're listening to their radios, and they're, honking the car alarms, making sure that the doors are locked, and they're not really hearing what's going on around them. So I'm playing some music here in my tent. I find that helps to block out all of the car sounds that are going on and everything like that for right now. And otherwise, I'm still listening for the birds, for the bug that just flew by on the breeze. And also you can hear just the basic gentle wind blowing. Although last night it was blowing quite violently, it was something else. The storm that came through the east side of the park was exceptional. Some people said there was hail, and either way, for all the people that experienced it, there was quite a bit of rain. I went looking for wildlife after the fact this morning as well as last night, and I didn't see a whole lot. I saw a lot of livestock. I saw some birds, but I didn't see the wildlife that I was expecting to see with all of the rainfall that we had received. However, times have been tough in this place, and just because we got a little bit of rainfall on one side of the park, that doesn't mean all of a sudden there's going to be an abundance of life. But for what life there was, I am grateful, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to share these experiences with you. Again, thank you so much for riding along on this journey. I hope that you're subscribing, and I hope that you're sharing where you feel like sharing. Either way, I hope that you're having a great day. Until next time, peace, love, and all that old school stuff.